aka Patters. Welcome back to the AKAPAD Film Buff podcast. I am your host, Peter A. DeLuca, coming to you from Philadelphia, PA. And this week, Den of Thieves Pantera drops. It gets released in theaters. We finally get a sequel. We finally get a follow-up to the 2018 Den of Thieves. Yes, the story continues. Yes, we're somewhat left on the cliffhanger. So many people compare this movie to one of my favorite, one of the best crime movies of all time. A movie that I feel is perfect. Michael Mann's Heat. Den of Thieves 2018 has nothing to do with Heat. They share one similar scene. All of this we'll discuss. Let's go.
On the set.
Camera speed.
Sound production. Take one.
Action!
Do I feel Den of Thieves has had bad PR? 1000%. I kind of remember back during, I guess, like maybe like the early days of bad information, bad business from businesses or corporations going viral, and then that corporation fighting back with a deluge of content and explanation. The Taco Bell pink meat scandal. I may be going back 10 years here. But during the early days of Facebook, the migration of MySpace to Facebook, you would see this story. Taco Bell pink meat, Taco Bell pink meat, all over the place. BuzzFeed would have articles. And then Taco Bell did this publicity campaign. They did almost like an anti-PR campaign, where through their Taco Bell YouTube channel and other resources, they put the word out. We don't do pink meat. It's proprietary blend. And it would bring you into the production facilities. And you would sit down and talk to executives. And you would get this over explanation. Because Taco Bell's reputation was on the line. The confidence of their consumers was at risk. Den of Thieves needed that PR department. They needed that crisis control, because as soon as Den of Thieves got labeled as a Heat ripoff, it kept people away. Here's the thing, aka Powders, I love Michael Mann's Heat so much. I view it as a perfect movie. There's not one scene, not one piece of dialogue, not one character you can cut from that movie. It's perfect. I want to indulge in a film that borrowed from it. I wanted to preserve how perfect Heat was. But then here we go. The miracle of streaming is here. Because of HBO Max, I can just press play. So I press play. And here we go. The opening scene of this movie is somewhat of the push that creates the plot in Heat. We can argue these scenes are copies of one another, even on the intent within the plot. We can argue the intent of the creator. And in this case, it's Christian Gudegast. Christian ripped off Heat for the first scene. We have a criminal gang. One of the criminal guys goes a little bit too far and then creates a whirlwind, meaning they start shooting people up. They start killing individuals when they were not supposed to. They're supposed to keep it cool, do the job. That's essentially what happens in Heat. That's what happens here. But then that's where it all ends. So, can we argue for, it's just, and I'm being very broad here, aka Patters, when we watch a slasher movie and the killer has a backstory that's sympathetic, and then the killer gets resurrected and inflicts damage, is that ripping off the source? You would say no. So here's the wild thing, my AKA padders. What we saw in Heat that's borrowed here is a movie trope. And we're all for movie tropes on this podcast. We don't pretend everything needs to be absolutely original. If we never saw Heat and we watched Den of Thieves, we would be woefully pleased. Think about that. The people who compared the two, they're just trying to sound intelligent. That's not what we do here. We watch movies, and this movie has such a wonderful gotcha, such a wonderful twist that's actually set up just from a look. A character gets put into the back of a police car during one of the final shootouts. And this character, he's just staring, waiting for his moment. You know something's up when you first see him. The camera keeps cutting to him. And he's watching this gunplay, this slaughter happen. And then it all gets revealed. The forwardness of this plot, the way how the movie gets pushed, it's something that we all think about. If you're ever in a bar and you hear people overspeak, talking about their jobs, and they have sensitive jobs, but they're like blue collar guys because they go to a bar. I've been in these situations. I've had these conversations, and then through the course of some time, you're able to figure everything out and pull a heist. Well, that's what happens here. This movie swerves so much as we get to the credits. You're not annoyed. Gerard Butler has this this really, like, I mean, it is a low-hanging fruit scene, but it is. He sees his estranged daughter at school because he's a little bit like Elliot Ness. I'm sorry, I could say Robert De Niro in Heat, but Robert De Niro, or Al Pacino in Heat, but Al Pacino in Heat essentially is Elliot Ness. But he has this Elliot Ness moment where he's so distant from his family. He just sees her through a chain link fence in school. And it's a good exchange. Like, there's nothing indicating, like, there's no predictable level in this scene. It just looks like he's visiting his daughter. They're having a good exchange, and then he gets to the car and he just bawls. He just cries. He just can't stop himself because there's a pressure, and the pressure that's coming because he's chasing these guys is going to get him killed. Now, if I were to set this movie up it's a great scene. I'm double thinking about it, but it is a truly powerful scene. There's a great bank robbing scene where the undercover cops, the cops trailing the bad guys, they get thwarted. They get everything gets screwed up because of the local PD. Local PD doesn't know that, because the bank alarm goes off. But it's also this bigger play in fishing everything out, and that's almost like the beginning of the final for this movie. You think it's a bank scene, and it's really not. Gerard Butler, who's a collaborator of Christian Gudegast, is incredible. But if we were to pitch this movie, and let's just say what elements comprises of this movie, right? Like, what are the elements? Sure, it's got a little bit of heat. It actually has a lot of usual suspects. It's got some Elliot Ness. This is not a tropey movie, though. I think the characters, I think the way it's shot, I think the way Christian shoots this movie is very LA, very hardcore. I love LA traffic. When LA's traffic is in movies, it's such a part of that landscape. So I can do nothing but recommend this movie. I don't feel this movie does a lot in ripping heat off. I think it got bad PR, and I wish Christian hired the Taco Bell PR team to go throughout social media and burn this rumor down, because I really feel like this movie, because of the bad PR, took people away from it. This movie too also has I would say the final for this movie is a little bit Usual Suspects, and it's also a little bit of Die Hard with Vengeance and Point Break, where the bad guy gets away, but we're going to catch up to him. Simon from Die Hard and Bodie from Point Break. But to me, those are movie tropes as well. I have to be a responsible audience member. I cannot let movie tropes take me out of a film experience, because in a way, because of those tropes, I'm able to enjoy this movie on a higher level. So, AKAPAD, Den of Thieves for the AKAPAD Film Buff podcast. I just feel bad. I wish I was able to bring this to you sooner, but hey, we're all susceptible to social media. This is also going to kickstart a couple other movies recommended by HBO Max. So we'll be doing some crime thrillers throughout the week, leading into Den of Thieves, Pantera, and maybe we can catch it. Maybe I'll actually go to the movie theater and bring it to you at a reasonable time. If not, we got plenty of new drops. Gladiator and Wicked are both available on Amazon Prime, so expect those as well. All right, AKAPADers, thanks for hanging out.
Okay, that's a wrap.